What a weird Sunday. 9 games on, huge performances, teams getting wiped out by injuries, blowouts. It's all here, and we're going to recap it all. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and if I'm using Google, I'm Googling. If I'm using Instagram, I'm Instagramming. What's the word if I'm using Microsoft Edge? Browsing. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky at joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Check out LockedOnDaily.com as well. That's where we've got all the newsletters for your favorite team. LockedOnDaily.com. Sign up, get it into your inbox. Also, I'd like a thumb and a double bang, audio, video. Get ready for the trade deadline show as well. That's all coming up. We're here to recap Sunday. It is the end of Week 12 in the NBA. There were 9 games on, a relatively busy Sunday in the NBA, and some big blowouts, some big performances. We're going to recap all that stuff. Let's just do it. It is actually today St. Knut's Day. So if you are ready to celebrate like a wild Knut, off you go. You have my permission. We are here, again, talking about these games. I'm just going to bang straight in and start breaking them down because there's a lot to get to. The first game was one of the early ones. It was Milwaukee up against the New York Knicks, and this was one of the blowouts. The Knicks cooked them. 140-136 was your final score here. The Bucks went in with the same starting lineup. Didn't do them much good, did it? They got absolutely smashed, and this is how you start to know, and we're not fully there yet, but you know when someone is starting to get washed. When a good player will have banger, 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 dud, banger, 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 dud, right? But when you start to get washed, you start to see like good games, streak of bad ones, streak of good ones, streak of bad ones. And that's where we're at with Brook Lopez, unfortunately. Lopez was bad here. 5 points with 1 rebound in 23 minutes with a block and shot 29%. It's been hard to sort of figure out all season what to do with Lopez. There were periods where he's been unrosterable. There were periods when he was cooking as a top 30 bloke. And now we're down back into the poor area again. And like a 2 or 3 game resurgence of 30 plus minutes, and it's back down 23 in this one. I don't think we want to take huge amounts out of this game, just given, again, the size of that margin. 140 to 106 is a huge discrepancy. But it was a game, again, where Doc is showing that there is he's got no issue with reducing Lopez's minutes. This time, though, it wasn't Bob Portis that got the extra playing time. Portis was also terrible. He played 19 minutes and had 8 and 4. And he remains still sort of a fringy player. I know you'll think that he's a must roster, and he probably is. But it really, he does this thing where it's like, guys are out, I put up big numbers or a weird little run of games. But in his regular role, he's not good enough. And we don't really have a way to sort of predict how that runs. Chris Middleton, off the bench, probably his best game. But what am I going to do with this one? 25 minutes, 16 points. He had 5 assists and 2 steals, which is absolutely fantastic. But he shot 78% to get here, and he is still playing low minutes. We're talking about a bloke that's outside the top 200 over his last 5 games since moving to the bench. It's not good enough. And if I'm in a 10-team league, I don't think I bother with it. Because, we can talk about how the injuries and the minutes, and he's going to look better. I still believe he's a really good player. But he played 30 minutes one time, and then they dropped his minutes down and said, absolutely, you're going to the bench now. Like, okay, because of all of the health stuff. So I don't think he's getting back to 30. And if he's running 25 a night, it's probably not enough. Yanni was fine, 24 and 13, but horrendous from the line. And actually, I think it's his first time under 50% shooting from the field all season, 48%. And Lillard had 22, 3, and 5. Not much to talk about there. What we do know is that you're never going to want to get anywhere near Taurean Prince. Andre Jackson played only 11 minutes. He continues to start for God knows what reason, but he does. And there we are. On the Knicks side of things, Brunson gave us a little bit of a scare with an early locker room trip, but he returned. He had 44 points in 29 minutes. He had 6 assists. Great game. 62% shooting. Karl Anthony Towns also ridiculously good. 36 minutes, 30 and 18, 4 assists, 63%. And Josh Hart, he didn't miss a single shot. 100% from the field, 11 of 11. Those three, all awesome. We got a little bit of a campaign cameo, 18 points in 14 minutes. We can largely just disregard that. And then Deuce McBride played 20 minutes with 6 points, but it's another stinker from Bridges and another stinker from Anunoby. Over the last 5 games, Mikal Bridges has been outside the top 300. He had 6 points on 40% shooting. He had 6 assists and 2 blocks, while Anunoby went 11, 1, and 2. No steals, 42%. Both of these guys are really struggling. I think there are big opportunities to buy low on both of them, but they are really struggling at the moment to sort of find the role at the moment. They're going to be much better. Don't get this panic. Don't drop them. Don't do anything stupid like that. But it is a significant, and for some of them, Anunoby especially, a prolonged buy low situation or a prolonged slump situation that you can sort of turn that into, I believe, an easier to achieve buy low trade. In terms of they play again tomorrow, the Knicks. So I would watch for Brunson, I would watch for Towns, and I would watch for McBride. I think they'll all be okay, but McBride maybe not. He had a terrible bout of hamstring soreness. It was the sorest hamstring ever. Not a strain. Of course it wasn't a strain. It definitely wasn't a strain. It was only soreness that kept him out for a week. So maybe that soreness occurs again and he's too sore to play on Monday. So just if McBride is out, then Payne and Shamet get extra run in that second unit, and that's important for deeper leagues. But honestly, that's realistically about it. If we go on to the next game, we're talking about the Denver Nuggets and the Dallas Mavericks. Denver gets the win, 112-101 is your final score, and we got something really interesting. And as someone who does this job, and most of you will not care about this, nor should you. But with someone who does this job and has done it for a long time, when you have these ideas and you see things and you try and make predictions and projections, of which I'll get plenty of them wrong. But when you see something and you say it sounds like I'm doing a terrorism awareness campaign. When you see something and then you say it out loud and it happens that way, you go, yeah, all right, nailed that one. Pretty happy with it. Because my worry was, when Aaron Gordon returned, that it was going to be Christian Braun that took a significant hit. And that the hot streak for 6 weeks or whatever it was, 7 8 weeks to begin the season, was the mirage. And every other part of his career is more realistic. Well, Gordon returned. Brown played 24 minutes. He had 8 and 4 with no defensive stats and shot 44%. And now I don't feel as crazy for because I kept watching. What am I missing? What is this? This is not this guy. He has not been this guy ever. Why is he doing this? And and I just kept getting it wrong. And I took the L. Brownie, I'm back.
Get that garbage out of here.
I mean, I'm not really back, but yeah, you don't need to hold Christian Braun. In saying that, I believe he'll be better than this. But better than this means maybe the worst player on a 12-team roster, which is not worth holding. Aaron Gordon, I think, is going to be pretty slow played here in terms of return. Now, his line's fine, 13 and 6, but he had to shoot 86%, and he played 18 minutes. And he said, yeah, I think we're going to roll with 20 minutes a game for a while, then move to 25 minutes a game, which suggests to me, having pinged that calf, sorry, I'm sure it was soreness both times, but having pinged that calf twice already this season, there's no rush to get him into big minutes. So I'm not certain that we need to consider Gordon a must roster. Russell Westbrook is. Now, he's obviously a sell high, just because I don't think that anyone's looking at Russell Westbrook as a top 25 player, which is what he is over the last 2 weeks. But 21, 10, and 7 with 2 blocks. Now, Russell Westbrook, to begin this season, was bad. Russell Westbrook, most of last season, was bad. Russell Westbrook, the last 3 to 4 weeks, has been excellent. He has really turned things back around, and he looks to be so important. And in the preseason, that was one of those ones when we talk about who's going to fill KCP's hole, is that I thought that maybe they'd go a little bit more with Westbrook, and then it didn't happen. But it's happening now, and I think this is going to last for quite a while. So, yeah, Westbrook's cooking. There is a bit of a sell high there, but don't go stupid on that. The headmaster didn't do a huge amount. Jamal Murray, 17, 2 and 2 on 39%. That's very bad, but we give him a marginal pass, I guess, but maybe not. And then Poop Cookie Michael Porter Jr. had 13 points, but he only played 25 minutes in this one. He couldn't shoot well from 3. His numbers have been frustrating at times this season, but with him struggling, Brown struggling, we got more Peyton Watson. I firmly believe that there is going to be a point, I don't know when it is, but Watson is going to have a run of like 3 to 4 years as a top 70 player. He played 33 minutes here, 10 and 6, 2 threes, 1 steal, 1 block. Low usage player, hits some threes, got some boards, got some steals, got some blocks. Well, got one of each, but you know what I mean. I don't think we look at him as a 12-team league guy right now at all. He's a nice streamer when we're looking for the defensive stats, but the way that he is playing is very encouraging. On the Dallas side of things, well, Jason Kidd is a man who at times can be confusing, and we sort of said that when we look at the Spencer Dinwiddies and Quentin Grimes and Najee Marshalls, there's going to be ups and downs, but they're all probably worth having. But if you're going to do it, you're probably going to need to commit to a little bit of extra time just because there's going to be fluctuations. Well, that hit us hard because in the last game, Marshall played like 26 minutes. In this one, Najee went for 31 minutes, had 16 and 6 with 3 steals and 2 threes, and that makes him look like an absolute must roster. And Quentin Grimes in the previous games, I think he scored 18 points in 4 of his previous 5 games. Well, Grimes played 19 minutes and had 3 points and just wasn't feeling it. While Spencer Dinwiddie, remember in the early stages with no Doncic and Kyrie, he didn't start, and then his minutes were low, and he was way below what Grimes was doing, and then he played 39 minutes here, had 16, 4, and 9 on 31%, and he's a must roster. If you've got Grimes, if you've got Marshall, if you've got Dinwiddie, yeah, I would hold them. If they're on your wire, I would look to add many of them if you could, but it's going to be up and down. Much like Klay Thompson, who was delivering just turd burger after turd burger, even with players out. Today, he cooked 25 and 6, 6 threes, 35 minutes. One of the best games we've seen from Klay this season. Still don't think that he needs to be considered a must-roster guy. This was great. He shot the ball well, and he got a million shots. But we've all already seen it, that the role just can fluctuate a lot, obviously. Another notch on the old Lively more minutes than Gafford scoreboard. Lively played 27. He had 14-5 with 8 assists. What on earth? With 2 blocks, and Gafford only got 15 minutes. To me, that's a very easy Gafford drop.
Get that garbage out of here!
8 and 3 for Dan. And Jaden Hardy, who had 20-odd points in 29 minutes last game, had 5 in 16 minutes. Yeah, just not a reliable situation. Speaking of not reliable, Paul Washington Jr., 8 and 6, steal block, 37 minutes. We know Gennaro Gattuso has given him the blessing to carry on the legacy that was once begun by Al-Farouq Aminu and passed to Jay Crowder, and PJ's the new guy. Because he sometimes may be good, and sometimes may be shit, obviously. We still hold him, though, without any question at all. But there's going to be a lot of fluctuations with this team. I'm fairly confident in saying that is how that's going to roll as we move forward. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate College Basketball HC. You like creating teams, building rosters? Well, a new mobile game, Ultimate College Basketball HC, allows you to step into the shoes of a college basketball head coach, controlling every detail of your program, recruiting players, hiring staff, setting up training camps, organizing the NIL deals, dealing with the scholarships. It's all in your hands. And then the game time comes and you go out there, you draw up a play, you set a strategy, and that determines the fate and the future of your team, not just for that game, but how you're building your program, how it's going to be viewed by others when you get into the recruiting streets and you're out there bribing families. No, sorry, you don't do that. You actually just recruit them properly. You don't have to bribe anymore. NILs exist. What am I talking about? Anyway, here's a special offer for you guys. It is a promo code. It's Locked On CBB, all caps, where you can use that in the game store and get a free boost for your program. The perfect way to kickstart your coaching career. So download Ultimate College Basketball HC or visit ultimate-cbb.com. It can be looked up in the App Store as well. That is Ultimate College Basketball HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Game Time app. Tickets to events, that's a bit frustrating thing. We've seen it so many times. You get in there and you go, bloody, what am I buying? What do these seats even mean? What's this Section 10 gate for? Who cares? I don't know what it means, but Game Time has helped to cut that stuff out. Game Time Picks removes the fluff. It defluffs the ticket buying process. It just shows you the good deals. So you just get given the good options. You get to see the views from your seat. Plus, the app's all-in pricing feature means that you don't have to worry about added fees at checkout. The price is the price. The price you see is the price you pay with the all-in pricing. That's what all-in pricing is. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time and download the Game Time app, create the account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Let's do the next game, one of the other early ones, the Sacramento Kings and your Chicago Bulls. And actually, it was a good day for sort of some of my rotational theories. In that, before we go the full Turkish grip on Doug Christie and figuring it out, and Keon Ellis is the key to all his success, and he's going to be all these big minutes, and it's all worked out, and it's all great stuff. I said, let's maybe wait and see until he's got a full healthy rotation there and see what happens to Keon, and we got a full healthy rotation, and the big fella didn't even crack 20 minutes. 8 points, 2 threes, 1 steal, no assists for Keon Ellis, And that is not worthwhile. That is not must roster at all. You are way, way better off having Case and Wallace because he's going to play 30-ish minutes at the moment. It's always the thing. And you know what never fails? Or maybe it sometimes does because of unexpected things. You play the 240 game. There's just not enough minutes for some of the things that we hope happen. They just can't happen. So Fox returned. Alice played 20 minutes. Absolute see you later.
Get that garbage out of here.
And when I say see you later, always your individual circumstances will determine how you view that. Do you have stash ability? Are you way up? Do you have a large bench, a weekly lock, a roto situation, a games cap? Different spot, yeah? Because then you get an injury and then he jumps up. But if the Kings don't have an injury for 5 weeks, you're dealing with the 220th best player sitting on your roster wasting a game every week. And that's a losing strategy. Domantas Sabonis had 22, 16, and 8. Big numbers from him, especially from the line, while Fox had just 33 minutes in his return, but who cares? 26, 9, and 3 with 4 threes. Malik Monk also dishing out the big ones, 18, 8, and 9, and played 37 minutes. Again, part of the worry was when Christie took over from Michael Brown that you'd say, well, maybe they bench Monk and Alice goes back and starts and it was only Brown that was holding back Alice. Well, I don't think so. Doesn't appear to be that way. Monk played 37 minutes. And the assists are through the roof. He didn't shoot well, but he actually had second on the team in shots. Of course, DeMar DeRozan led the team in a revenge game where he had 21, 0, and 3 with no defensive stats. Revenge garnered. And he continues to be really frustrating, DeMar. That's not a terrible game from him, but it's fine. Also, just quietly, Keegan Murray is playing better. 14, 5, and 2. Steal, block, 3 threes. He's back looking more like a back-end top 100 player, which for a lot of you is going to be pretty useful. Devin Carter also down to 11 minutes because of the return of Fox. At least he looks to be in the rotation. And the big impact there is, with him in the rotation, Alice can't play enough. Same with Herter in the rotation. They still only ran a 9-man rotation here, by the way. What about the other side of the coin? I think there's important information on the King side, absolutely, about the Alice stuff in particular. But the Bull side, it's probably a little bit more interesting because adding players and making waiver additions is usually better than I guess that guy who was good is not good anymore. Because Lonzo Ball started. Now, I am also, get ready, get your umbrellas out. I'm going to piss on it. Because Lonzo was great. He was really good. 26 minutes, 15 points, 5 threes, 1 block. He's really good. And I don't think, and maybe we'll have a virtual fight in the comments here. Who wants to fight me? I don't think it's actually that arguable that if Lonzo Ball was healthy, and he's not, but if Lonzo Ball was fully healthy, he's a better player than Josh Giddey. He's a better player than Ayo Dosunmu. He's a better player than Kobe White. If he was healthy. But he's not, and he probably never will be. And in this game, there was no Dosunmu and no White, so Lonzo started, he replaced Kobe White, and he put up that big game. But of course, those guys are going to come back. White and Dosunmu will return. And Lonzo, who'd been pushing to 24, 25 minutes a night, I think should probably hold that, but that means somebody loses. Again, we play the 240 game. Everyone wants to be big on Dosunmu. Everyone wants to love these numbers that people are getting. It can't all happen together. Dosunmu can't play 32 minutes a night, and Ball play 24, and Giddey play 31, and White play 34. It's impossible to do. So somebody's losing. So I don't think Dosunmu is going to be a 12-team league player. I think Ball is worth having a look at just to see if they keep him at 24, because I think he's very good. And then we see how all the other minutes go. And don't be shocked if Giddey, who played 37 minutes here, plays 28 in the next one. That's distinct. Or he plays 33 because everyone's out again. 12, 11, and 7 for Giddey, which is fine, but it's not that good. But there is about to be a pretty heavy crunch. Zach LaVine continues his ridiculous run. Zach LaVine has been great. Zach LaVine has been underappreciated. Zach LaVine also still has significant deficiencies. But no matter how good you think he is, there is going to be a drop here. 38 minutes, 36 and 10, 50% shooting. He won't maintain the holy trinity. Minutes, usage, efficiency. He can't do it. I don't care. It will not happen. I guarantee you he cannot maintain those three things at those elevated levels. He's doing it now, and that is why you cash in as a sell high as quick as you can, because it will drop. One of those three things will take a hit. Maybe 2 of them do, maybe 3 of them do. But also, if you want to just ride it out, bloody do it. You don't have to sell high on it. Just know that it can't hold at this level. We also got 34 Patrick Williams minutes for those of you who still care. 8, 5, and 5 with 2 blocks. Solid for streaming. That's about all I care about. And what about the GOAT, Nikola Vucevic? He was like, fine. This is sort of what we should expect. Unless you're delusional, this is what you should expect. 18 and 8, 1 steal, 1 blocks. He shot 53%. He was 25% from 3, shockingly. 64% from 2, and he was 1 of 3 from the line, which is weird. He's better than that from the line. But Vooch, again, is settling into the exact area that I thought he would be, and that's outside the top 50, inside the top 70, bang in that zone. That's where he's been for like 3 to 4 weeks now, and all that elite shooting stuff has cooled off. He is still usable. He is still useful. The worry is going to be is if he is traded into a reserve role, you would cut immediately. And then we would add Jalen Smith in that scenario. But of course, we're not there yet, and it may not ever happen because it is, of course, your Chicago Bulls. The next game up, what are we talking in this one? Oh, we're actually going to a game that I don't really know how to judge it because it's the Wizards and the Thunder win it by 41 on the road, 136-95. We'll talk about the Thunder just briefly because what can I say? I can tell you that that's great from Aaron Wiggins. He had 23, 9, and 4, a steal and a block. Cool. But what does it mean? Nothing, because it's a crazy game against the Wizards. And he's not going to do that on a regular basis. He's had some better games of late, and he's an emergency stream type of guy, Wiggo, but that's about it. We got our usual from Cason Wallace. The Hong Kong Mattress gave us 2 steals, as always. He had 5 assists. He had 2 threes and 14 points. It's good. He's real close to being a must-roster category league guy. Points league, probably not. But category, probably. But I think when Caruso returns, if we ever hear anything about that, then Wallace will push back to 25 or 26. Hartenstein had 10 and 12. He only played 22 minutes. Jalen Williams only played 21. That's the Bronco. He had 17 and 6, but poor shooting. But again, I'm not going to give these guys much criticism in a game they win by 40. Pig Williams also got 24 minutes. Extra run for him in the blowout. 9 and 9, 2 blocks. Good numbers from Pig Williams. But again, what are we taking out of this? Nothing is the answer. We actually got Alex Dukas. I think that's the Aussie guy. Shout out to the big fella. Scored his first NBA points. So there you go. On to the other side of this. It's really ugly in Washington at the moment. It's not as ugly as one of the other games we're going to talk about later on, but it is really ugly here. They were able to trot out somehow the same starting lineup, the Wizards, and got blown out again. Jordan Poole played only 23 minutes because the blowout, I think, is a bit impact there. And we've seen that the last 2 games that they've limited him. But he is really slumping. 13, 3, and 4. No threes, no defensive stats, big turnovers. At least he got to the line. But if he's playing and the team looks somewhat serious, then he's going to be good. We've seen that evidence all season. But it's not good at the moment. There was no Brogdon here. And Bob Carrington played 34 minutes. The 7 assists from Bub are nice. But 5 points? 20% shooting? I like Bub, but there's very little to suggest that he's a must-roster 12-team league guy. There's even less to suggest that Justin Champagnie should be rostered in 12-team leagues. Champagnie played 13 minutes. He had 2 points. Yeah, let's get a couple of guys out, and then maybe we roll with him, but we're not there yet. And then I also talked about this with Jared Butler, and this is a very, very easy... Well, it's not easy, but it's a pretty obvious thing to see, is that there was a lot happening with Butler. He played only 20 minutes a night, though, and he rolled at like 50 usage, and that's only a marginal exaggeration. In this game, he played like 8 minutes. He had 6 points. Cool. It's just not any way realistic to be a 12-team league player. Alex Sarr, 10 and 6 with 2 blocks, not a bad game. Kispert had 17 with 3 threes, streamable for threes. But I don't really know how to talk about him because he sucks. But Kyle Kuzma.
Get that garbage out of here.
You know what, John Armstrong? I think you're right. If you're in a 10-team league, what are we doing? There is always the risk that tomorrow we wake up, get ourselves whatever dressed and put on a little makeup, and then we see that Kyle Kuzma's been traded somewhere for a team that wants him. Now, that team's obviously horribly run, but a team that wants him, and then he plays 30 minutes and he looks like he gives like 2 shits. Kuzma's been a frustrating player all through his career. But last season, he actually looked... he didn't look good because at times he was actually a worse player to watch than Jordan Poole. But he was productive. Now he doesn't do anything. He doesn't take shots. He doesn't do anything. And if he's going to be mired in this nonsense all season, why would I bother holding for a guy that's had significant category deficiencies all through his career? Where's the steals? Where are the blocks? Where's the field goal percentage? Where's the free throw percentage? What are you doing, Kyle? Bad in all of those. That was always useless for him. And now he's not even getting volume? I think you're all right moving on, honestly. Bilal Coulibaly had another poor efficiency game, 25%. He had 10 points. He had 5 rebounds. He had 2 steals and 2 blocks. So I'm not going to ding him too much. But we have seen after that red hot start from him at the start of the season, that things have cooled off considerably. It still would be rostering him, but he is, again, more realistically just a back-end player. We'll come back, talk about the others, but today, the episode is brought to you by Open Phone. Yeah, small business owners, and when you run one, you know what it means. It's a lot of different things you've got to do. Your personal phone turns into your business phone, and you're juggling customer calls all day and night. And as your team grows, it can become impossible to manage everything with just a personal phone number. And that is where Open Phone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help you keep your work and personal life separate. For just $15 a month, you get complete transparency and visibility into everything that is happening with your business phone number. Open Phone works through an app either on your phone or on your computer and integrates with tools like HubSpot and hundreds of other tools. It also uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, getting a rundown of your calls and action items the second that you hang up. And if you miss a call, well, no problem. Automated messages can be sent directly to your customer, ensuring that you never miss an opportunity to engage. So right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That is OpenPhone, OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA for 20% off the 6 months use. Yeah, that's it. Openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. If you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. Let's do the next one. We're going to Cleveland, and the Cavs lose. Cavs lose to the Pacers, 108-93. Indiana trotted out the same starting lineup, but I guess I've buried the lead somewhat here because Tyrese Haliburton has the dreaded hamstring soreness. Now, unlike the last time, about a year ago, when Haliburton pinged that hamstring and looked terrible, and then, honestly, I was about to drop a big swear because I probably shouldn't, but the season got rooted. Like, they rooted his season by horrible mismanagement and a horrible rule. We didn't see any incident like that. We just heard at halftime, yeah, not returning. Okay, cool. Now, he didn't play well. He had 2 points on 5 shots in 19 first half minutes. 19 first half minutes, probably too many. Yeah, maybe a few too many. And he had 5 assists there. But yeah, not great. Now, I don't know how idiotic this team will be. I would hope that they're not going to be, knowing what happened last season. And they just say, yeah, it's soreness. Again, grade 1 strain minimum. And they keep him out at least a week, maybe 2. Prepare for that. Prepare also for me to lose my absolute mind if they say he's available to play next game. I will lose it. It might be entertaining for you to see a man transcend time and space to find a way to go back in time to punch himself right in the medulla oblongata. But yeah, so what do you do here? Well, you absolutely have to add Andrew Nembhard. 19, 2 and 4, 2 steals, 2 threes, 28 minutes. They started Benny Shepherd, not TJ McConnell, and that will be what they do. I'm fairly certain of that. And then if Aaron Nesmith returns, it'll be Nesmith, Mathurin, and Nembhard. That doesn't mean that McConnell's not an ad, because he just gets to 22 minutes and it's enough. He had 6, 4, and 8 here. He's, again, going to be more assists, steals as a specialist there. Nembhard's my priority, but I still think that McConnell's worth an ad. I wouldn't bother with Shepherd. And the only way that Ben Mathurin's able to maintain value is just maybe you get some more shots, because he's doing nothing. Much like a lot of these players where these 3-4 week hot streaks to begin the year, Mathurin's turned back into being Ben Mathurin. He had 12 points with 3 rebounds on 33%. He's been nowhere near 12-team value for a while. But if you've got him, this is a chance to hold while Haliburton is maybe out, maybe not. Siakam had 18 and 9 with 2 blocks. He just keeps being the most, what do I even say? It's just boring. He's not up, he's not down, he's sort of there. Miles Turner was fine, 15 and 10. Tommy Bryant getting a few extra minutes. He's turning into an interesting field goal percentage blocks stream for days like Sunday. He did that again here. And then we had it's almost like he welcomed us with a big hello, because Jarris Walker had 8 points in 22 minutes. He had 12 rebounds, he had 2 steals and a block. That's fantastic. I love to see that from you, Jarris. But, okay, is he going to play in the next game? Who misses out on the rotation if Nesmith and Haliburton do indeed play? They won't, but if they do, don't know. Walker is not a 12-team option, even though this is a good game. But yeah, at least for steal streaming, there's a little bit of something there that we see. The Cavs have been playing well, clearly, but I think that little build-up of games and big performances might have just caused a bit of a letdown effect. We saw it somewhat in the game the other day against the Raptors, where they did get over the line, but they just couldn't get it done here, and they lose 108-93. Evan Mobley was fine, 16 and 12. Donovan Mitchell had 19 points with 2 threes. And there are people who are very disappointed with Don Mitchell. I get it. He's outside the top 100 over the last 2 weeks. I thought that he would drop this season. I didn't think that he'd necessarily be dropping as much as he has. And I think that they are going to be extremely cautious because he played too many minutes under John Blair Bickerstaff. He had too much of an offensive load, and it caused the second half of the season to be terrible and for them to struggle through the playoffs. So they're going to just say, we're easing the load. You're not playing the big minutes. You're going to have days off. And that's going to be something that we knew. Well, no, that is something that we knew before the season. Again, not to this degree. But they're going to keep doing it rest of season. Garland had 20 points and 7 assists, and Jarrett Allen only played 25 minutes here, 11 and 9 with a block. Not bad, but he'd been absolutely flying prior to this. I think we can fairly comfortably pull the pin on the idea that Karis LeVert or Max Strus are must-roster 12s. They're not. LeVert played 22 minutes. He had 2 points with 4 rebounds. Strus played 23. He had 3 and 4 with 1 assist on 17%. Now, they're both going to have better games than this. Figuring out when those games happen is impossible. You just don't want to hold on to guys like that and clog up those spots, unless somebody goes down. Now, it was announced prior to the game that Strus was starting over Dean Wade. And I think someone may have done that incorrectly because Kenny Atkinson said, no, what are we doing? It's actually back to Wade. And Wade started and played his 21 minutes, had 3 points and 9 rebounds. If we hear that Strus starts, I'll become marginally interested in it. But also, I don't think he's that valuable in a 12-team league to necessitate being a guy that you got to go and grab. I don't think we view him that way. Let's talk about the next game here. The Philadelphia 76ers, our Orlando Magic. A lot of weird stuff on the Magic side of things, which we'll get to, but they somehow win it 104-99. Still no Joel Embiid. Still no Andre Drummond. Still no Kyle Lowry. And then Caleb Martin was out. So Eric Gordon started. 14 points for Gordo, 3 threes with 4 rebounds in 28 minutes. Couldn't pay me enough to care about that one. Kelly Oubre had, well, actually, I am being paid to do this, so maybe I will care about it. That's fine. Well done, Eric. That's so good of you. I think we care in 16-team leagues, and that's it. Oubre, the Kelly Oubre frustration experience showed up again. 35 minutes is good, but 12 and 4, didn't hit a 3. He got 2 steals. He's fine to roster him. I think we do roster him, but bloody hell, it's annoying. Maxey hurt his hand early on, but didn't miss any time. But just watch it. 39 minutes, 29, 4 and 5, 3 steals on horrid percentages. And Paul George is playing better. 25 and 10, 6 assists, 50% from the field, not a single free throw attempt, 5 threes. These are good numbers. And we talked about him at length about being a buy low, and I think we're starting to get back to normal here. Gershon Yabusele, you will never get a better scenario for him to be a 12-team league player. He played 39 minutes. There's no Embiid, there's no Drummond. No Martin either. He had 8 and 3 with a steal and a block. He's had a couple of really solid games. But he's under no circumstance, Yabusele. None. No circumstance a must-roster 12-team guy. I'm talking long-term. But even games like this, the last 2 weeks he's played 32 minutes a night, not top 120. Is that a guy you want to pin your hopes to rest of season? I don't think so. And he's rostered in lots of spots. And while Embiid is out, I get it. It does make a bit of sense. But the long-term appeal there, it doesn't exist. I don't think. The Magic side of things, it is going to be a tough one to talk about because just all the injuries. So KCP was actually out in this game, and Caleb Houston moved back into the starting lineup. Paolo Banchero, still on a minutes limit, had 28 and 6 on 63 from the field and 82 from the line. He played 27 minutes. He's been awesome since he returned. Great. Cole Anthony played 38 minutes. 27, 3 and 4, 2 steals, 2 threes, 65%. But you know why? Suggs was out. KCP was out. Franz Wagner was out. Gary Harris was out. Jed Howard was out. Tristan Da Silva left after 1 minute, and Goga Bitadze played 12 minutes. So everyone's out. So yeah, we do roster Cole now. The next question is going to be, what do you do with Mr. Black? And no, you can't call him uncle. But Anthony played 37 minutes. He had 17, 6 and 6 with 2 steals. That's great. But I beg you to look at the game log for this bloke. Minutes, he might play 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 23 minutes, 2 points, 20 points, 5 steals, 0 combined assist, steals, and blocks. It's all over the shop. The fact that Suggs and KCP and Harris and Da Silva are all out means that if you want, this is it couldn't be an easier time to have a look at Black. So do it. But my faith in it is low. As for Goga, 12 minutes, first half, injured. 4 points, 2 steals, 2 blocks, hip contusion, right? I don't know if it's going to be serious or not. I'm not going to rush to add Wendell Carter, but I would consider it. Would I drop Goga? I'd probably just like to hear a diagnosis here. What we do need to look at is John Isaac. John Isaac played 27 minutes, and that's probably, along with Lonzo Ball playing 25 or 26, that's just unbelievable. Isaac had 20 and 11 with 2 blocks and 2 threes. 27 Jonathan Isaac minutes is a guaranteed must-roster player. So I would just, as Nike once said, the famed ancient Greek philosopher / goddess, one and the same, just do it. He might not stick at 27 minutes, but I think he's played 20 plus minutes in 3 of his last 4 games. It's probably enough. I'd do it. I would add him. De Silva had 0 points in 1 minute. You can drop him there, while Wendell Carter had 4 and 4 in his 25, and we got 31 Trevelyan Queen minutes. And while some of you may be saying yes to that, I wouldn't. He had 2 blocks. He had 4 points. Whatever. Like, there'll be opportunities for more minutes if everyone remains out, but it's just a short-term type of scenario. What about the next one? Another game where we got some interesting data points to talk about. The Celtics beat the Pelicans 120-119. And this is a Pelicans team that obviously is dealing with a lot of players being out. We're seeing that consistently. They had no... it's still true, but they got guys back in this one. So, different team. Trey Murphy back. Zion Williamson back. That meant Jordan Hawkins and Javonte Green moved to the bench. Okay, so let's start with the Pelicans' best player, Trey Murphy, who had 30 points in 39 minutes with 5 threes, 59%. The evolution of this guy, he's still somewhat hampered by the team around him and the players and that sort of stuff long term. But the fact that they still consider bringing him off the bench when Ingram returns, he's a better player than Brandon Ingram. I actually don't care what you want to say here. Again, if you want to fight, I'll fight. I'll type a word and say, you're wrong. And I'll fight with you. He's a better player than Brandon Ingram. Another absolute monster from Trey. Remembering, he entered the season with a knee injury. And was it a hamstring? That was a hamstring. And then he's had multiple ankle sprains. That's a problem. But he's cooking. Also, big DeJounte game. 26, 9, and 8 steal block. Love that. Zion, 5 steals. And second half of last season, Zion steals numbers jumped. This season, Zion steals numbers up again. Not really sure why, but they are. 17, 6, and 3. 5 steals, but 33% shooting. But at least he hits free throws. Just a weird Zion game. And then at the end, when CJ McCollum missed the game-winning shot, Zion just walked off the court, left all his teammates out there, didn't walk off with anybody. Do they hate him? Does he hate them? Is he out? I am losing all faith in Zion professionalism, in Zion's whatever. I've lost it all. It's really frustrating to see. CJ, I don't know how we best phrase this, but I've talked about it a lot this season. There's always something that this guy does that looks great and then is terrible at the same time. So CJ played 38 minutes. You go, wow, that's awesome. He's been playing really well, and then he has 13, 4, and 5. What? 33% shooting. Can't hit free throws anymore. Like, what is going on with this guy? You still got to roster him, but bloody hell. Over the last 2 weeks, he's the 76th ranked player. Over the last 5 games, he's 174th. He's just all over the shop. And I don't know that you do it, but that's not a bad day for me in terms of rotational theories, because my theory is that Yves Missi and Zion won't work. And Missi played 26 minutes, he had 7 points. He had 4 assists, which is out of nowhere, but he had 7 points. He took 4 shots. He had 4 boards. He doesn't fit. I don't think he fits at all. Now, will Zion even play like 2 more games? I've got no idea. But Missi had all that runway with all those guys out. That was the time for him to really peak. And the fact that his peak was a back-end player always made me worry. Now, he will improve at some point. He'll improve during his career, of course. But I think we're in a spot here where it's going to depend on your team and on your standings and on your league and all that stuff. But if you're like, hey, I'm like 6 weeks from playoffs here, I need to make every moment count. Well, I'm not sure that Missi on your roster makes it count. We saw last game that with Murphy and Zion out, Jose Alvarado was able to do a lot more in that spot, and we thought maybe with Herb Jones out, he'd step into a larger role. Guess not, 12 minutes for him. Jordan Hawkins played 13, and BJ Boston played 8. So any of those guys you thought might have been the option to stream in without Herb Jones, well, you got your dick kicked right off, because Ingram's still not even back. So there's just nothing with those guys to care about. We got 20 Javonte Green minutes, and just not enough happening. Sorry. On to the Boston side of this game. They're not playing well at all at the moment, and it's good to wake them up and get them back into shape, but they're not good at this point. I mean, they're good. They're not playing well. Tatum had 38 and 11. Very good game. Porzingis had 19 and 11 with 3 blocks. Didn't shoot well, but good game. But what's going on with Derek White here? Now, the steals and blocks were still there, but 17% shooting. He took 6 shots. 6 and 4. Probably a little bit of a buy low. That's a couple of bad ones in a row from him. Drew Holiday, I thought he was sort of turning it around and back to being solid enough to roster in all spots, but maybe not. 8 points, steal, block, 6 assists. I probably still would hold, but much like the earlier callback to talking about Brook Lopez and saying that when you get older and when you get into that spot, you get more of the downs mixed in with the goods. That's sort of where we're at with him. And Al Horford's still over-rostered. 11 and 7 with 3 threes is fine, but he absolutely isn't a guy that has to be held. And Jalen Brown was like, whatever. No defensive stats, no threes, 16, 8, and 7. Not impressive. We are also at the stage that we have to reconsider whether Peyton Pritchard is a must-roster player. 24 minutes, 11 points, 3 threes. 161st over the last 2 weeks. He's dropped outside the top 100 for the season. It is trending down in an incredibly quick way because when you have that idea, and we had it with him, when we look at it and go, I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing it. Right? How does he keep doing this? Well, there's always going to be a cool-off coming. And he's sort of back to the guy that I thought he would be in the preseason, a 24 to 28 minute a night player who has some big games and some bad ones and steps up when players are out. But at the moment, it's pretty rough. And with Porzingis coming back, it's caused a huge drop, actually. And I think that's probably understated of how much having Porzingis there means they just don't need him as much. So I think, much like with Yves Missi, much like with Goga, but with Christian Brown, with these guys who put up some interesting numbers earlier on in the season, but now circumstances have changed around them, sometimes you just got to make the call, and you might have to drop Peyton Pritchard. Whereas 5 weeks ago, it would have been insane to have considered him a drop. But things change. So there you go. Should we talk about the dumbest game of the year? Let's do it. Whatever's left of the Brooklyn Nets took on what was ever left of the Utah Jazz. It went to overtime. The Jazz win it, 112-111. And I don't know which one of these two things is more unbelievable. That Isaiah Collier hit a shot to win the game, or that it was Bryce Sensabaugh that assisted him. Like, what the? And Tosan Ebonwan got 22 points on the other side. What a stupid game. What a stupid game. Okay, let's talk Nets. Let's talk Nets first. Not only do we have Lonzo Ball hit 25 minutes, not only did Jonathan Isaac hit 27, but Ben Simmons had a season high of 32 minutes. What is going on? 14, 6, and 9 with 2 blocks on 64%. Now, if Simmons plays 32 a night, it's an easy must-roster player. But of course, there was no Johnson, there was no Thomas, there was no Russell. There's never going to be a Bogdanovic, but we saw when Johnson and Thomas and Russell were all there, that Simmons played like 25 minutes. And yeah, that's not going to be enough. But for now, like, sure, go for it, I guess. We don't know. We don't know when these guys, if they're ever going to return. We have no idea. They have a back-to-back coming up Tuesday, Wednesday. So Simmons is going to sit one of those without question. But I would say that even if D'Angelo Russell comes back, he'll sit one of those. And even if Cam Johnson comes back, he'll sit one of those. Cam Thomas won't be back. So we're still not going to get good information about this stuff. But it was incredibly intriguing to see Simmons play that much. And again, if you want to have a crack at it, you're probably in it's the best time to do it, I guess. But bloody hell, how confident can I feel about that? Like, Ev Bonwan, 24 minutes, 22 points, 88% shooting. So don't care to add him, but it's just going to be mess all the way around. Keon Johnson had been rolling, getting 30 minutes a night, 21 here for 8 points. Sick, that's great. I love to see that. And then what we had is Tyrese Martin getting 35 off the bench for 11 and 9. Okay, whatever, nice stuff. Nick Claxton, who a week ago was playing 26 minutes a night, played 37. He had 14 and 12. Fantastic to see. And then Zaire Williams had 19 and 6 with 3 threes and a steal. I love that. He also shot horribly, but got to the line 8 times. So one thing won't continue, the other thing won't continue, but do they meet in the middle? to give him sort of something similar. I think what you see here with Williams and Evbomwan and Martin and even like Johnson, even though he didn't play that well, is what you will get at times during March. But we're going to have Johnson and Thomas and Russell. I'm guessing they're going to play. And then we get back to a whole bunch of nothing. We're going to get Justin Champagne'd with this stuff. So yeah, like Williams is worth to try at the moment. Simmons is worth at the moment. Keon Johnson's worth at the moment. Tyrese Martin's worth it in deep leagues. But I guess then the question is, what do you do with Noah Clowney? Because I can give you cup half full and cup half empty. It's glass, isn't it? Glass. Glass half full, glass half empty. I'll give you glass half empty. Bro missed all 10 of his shots. And then for good measure had a free throw and missed that as well. Okay, so didn't hit a single shot. But he played 32 minutes. He only had 4 rebounds. He had no defensive stats. But he took 10 shots still. So I think the overall analysis of Clowney still stays the same. There's going to be some good games. There's going to be some bad games. It's going to fluctuate. And when guys come back, he's probably not going to be worth it. It's going to be a mid sort of a player for now. But later on in the year, we should get unfettered access to 35 a night every night. But do you wait on it? Clowney, Claxton, Sharp, Martin, Wilson, Johnson, Evbomwan, Williams, and Simmons. I could make arguments for every single one of those players to be rostered in 12-team leagues as a short-term thing, which makes it basically that none of them, well, not none of them are worth it, but a lot of them aren't going to be worth it because there's just too many guys. And it's a frustrating scenario, and you could pick one, and you could pick one, and you could pick another one, and you'll be right, then the next day you'll be right, the next day you'll be right. Meaning it ends up being a coin toss. So in the end, whatever way you want to go, I don't believe there's a real clear way to pick this. If I did, Simmons has got the track record. Right, that's easy. But then is it Keon and Zaire? Probably they're next. Evbomwan and Tyrese Martin below them. Clowney above those guys. Similar to Clowney's probably with Keon and Zaire. But it's messy, man. And the other thing you got to throw in there is that look at who these dickheads played against. And I'll say the exact same thing when I talk about the Jazz, which I might as well just do now and talk about the Jazz and their lineups and their production, because look at who these dickheads played against. You'll be shocked to know that on a back-to-back, Lowry Markkanen sat out, and then out of nowhere, along with John Collins being out, and Keontae George being out, and Jordan Clarkson being out, Walker Kessler was mysteriously out of this game, and they still won. So all I can say to that is, suck shit, because I know you're trying to lose. I talked a lot, some may say too much, about Isaiah Collier this month. Not this month, this week. I said, yeah, look, he might be the worst player in the NBA. He might be the worst shooter in the NBA. But you're getting a ton of assists, and they've got a weekend back-to-back, and if you need assists, it's not a bad stream. Well, not only did he give you the 7 assists again today, with 7 rebounds, but he decided to hit the game winner, to play 37 minutes, and to score 23 points. An absolute coming-out party. This is someone who I had really high in the draft class, and I've been disappointed with most of his play this season. The passing, though, is legit, and he is actually a point guard, whereas Keontae George is not. Would I drop Keontae George? Well, I actually did. I dropped him today in industry pickup. I didn't know when he was coming back. I needed to get a center into my lineup. Shout out to the cockroach. Did someone in to fill that spot, and I dropped him. But I don't think that this locks in Collier as a starter, but it's again just another data point that when you need assists, this man will get them. Colin Sexton played 38 minutes, and somehow he's immune to whatever else is going on. He took 20 shots and had 21, 3, and 5, which is fine. The guy to watch, if you are in a stashable format, it has to be Kyle Filipowski. 21 minutes, 12 points, 3 threes, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. Only stash him if his girlfriend allows it. You better ask her for permission and see what she says. But he is the stash to me. It won't happen every night. It won't happen maybe for weeks. But if you want a stash, he's him. Tony Snell 2.0 started in place of Lowry Markkanen. That's Cody Williams. He had 5 points in 37 minutes. He did jack shit else, and he scored a shot at 20%. So, cool. He might be the worst fantasy player in the NBA. And then we had Bryce Sensabaugh, who returned from his illness. The minutes were fine, but he is, at this point, outside of game-winning assists, which he's going to do all the time. Of course he is. But he is a one-trick pony. He is a scorer. And he had 16 points with 3 threes in 27 minutes. And we went into extreme detail about Sensabaugh's production last week when he had those 2 massive games. Now, he still took 13 shots, which is a good volume. And if they went in at more than 39%, you'd be feeling better. I think he's okay to have a look at. But again, like I'm going to say with the Nets, when there's no Markkanen, Collins, Kessler, George, or Clarkson, as well as Taylor Hendricks, obviously, and John Juzang is out, that is, without exaggeration, probably their 5 best players, 6 best players, depends where you want to slot Sexton. So random stuff's going to happen. But it is possible that Markkanen, Collins, Kessler, and George all just play the next game. So your Collier, Mihailuk, Filipowski, Sensabaugh, Potter streams just die. EJ Harkless, if you know who that is, he played 19 minutes in this game, and Oscar Tshiebwe also got 18 minutes. We are playing March basketball on the 12th of January. These teams are blatant. Them and Portland, well maybe Phoenix. Them and Portland, blatant. And Brooklyn, that's, a little sus as well. And it's going to be very tough to read. Collier, elite assist guy. Filipowski, very good all-around fantasy value. Sensabaugh, scorer. And you can make use of all of those on different teams, and they will have 12-team value at portions of the season. But until we get information about whatever nonsense is going on with Collins and George and Kessler and Markkanen, it's hard to know. Someone asked me a question. Do you think that Lauri Markkanen will play a full week of games for the rest of the season? I actually don't. I actually don't think he will. I would maybe if there's a 3-game week. I'll say this. I say there's no shot that Lauri Markkanen plays 4 games in a week rest of the season. That would be my guess. And I want somebody. I'll appoint you to keep me accountable on that. So you take that job on and tell me if Lauri plays a full week of games, a full 4-game week. That's the thing. I don't think that he will. But you know what? The Jazz. Let's continue getting weird with the final game of the day, which in the end, I guess, doesn't end up all that weird because Phoenix does win at 120 to 113, but it wasn't looking that way. The Hornets started out on fire, led by the big fella himself, Mark Williams. 24 and 16 for Williams with 4 assists and a block. I believe he had 23 and 12 at halftime, though, and he sort of disappeared. He went 6 of 10 from the line, so that's a little bit of a down tick in production there, but overall, you can't really ask for much more. Now, you would ask for much more if you saw the game at halftime, but that's okay. Overall, the numbers are fine. It also means, again, that BDNR is useless. 4 and 5 for Nick Richards in 18 minutes, and I know the rumors are there. I also would very much urge you to not listen to anything that account says. So, don't stash Nick Richards waiting for this trade. I don't think that it is a viable way to go. LaMelo, 40 minutes for LaMelo. Yeah, okay. 25, 6 and 11, 3 steals and a block. Inefficient from the field. 2 of 2 from the line. Another big game, though. And Brandon Miller, I don't know, I feel like I haven't really talked about Brandon Miller much lately. 19, 4 and 6 is okay. No defensive stats. 38%, like, he's okay. He's 91st over the last 2 weeks. He's 60th for the season. He's sort of been, like, I guess, where we expected. And Miles Bridges had 21, 5 and 5. Good enough there. Cody Martin had been streamable. Not really so much here. 5, 3 and 1 with 2 steals, while Josh Green also added in 3 steals. And Nick Smith continues to get a lot of those backup guard minutes over Vasiljevic, who played just 8 minutes, and Tijan Salin, who'd been playing like 20 minutes a night, basically forced out of the rotation. Well, not forced, pushed out of the rotation because he's bad. The Suns, though, yes. Some interesting stuff. And I'll just start with the center position, because you know what I've said. I said it earlier today. I've said it many times. I don't think Jusuf Nurkic is as bad as he's made out to be. He's currently out with the flu, and he won't travel on their road trip. Okay, whatever. Like, Plumlee is actually bad, though. And I can't find a single piece of evidence to suggest to me that Mason Plumlee is a better option than Jusuf Nurkic, right? That's beside the point. But what I did say months ago, maybe not months, let's say a month ago, I said, I don't think that Osa Iguodaro is going to take over from Plumlee. And if they ever decide to bench Nurkic, I think Iguodaro will end up getting that run. Well, Plumlee's been starting. He is completely useless. He played 15 minutes here for 2 points. He did block 2 shots. Also, people have added Plumlee in 12-team leagues. Please, that is it for that.
Get that garbage out of here!
I know the 5-game week. I added him for the weekend back-to-back. I just needed a center, so I'm moving on easily. Osa Iguodaro started the second half over Plumlee. He played 30 minutes. He had 10 and 6 with a block. Is Osa Iguodaro an ad? Maybe. And I say maybe because so far, Well, I love what he does on the court. I love that his little run of 8 points I think he had in the fourth quarter. He's a smart basketball player. He's a really good passer for a center. He is undersized. But overall, so far, he hasn't shown a very, very fantasy-friendly game. So if I'm in 20s, yes. 18s, yes. 16s, yes. I'm adding him. 14s, maybe. That could be a get out ahead of it moment. 12s, probably not. Although I definitely don't want Plumlee and I definitely don't want Nurkic. Booker and Durant, 35 and 8 for Durant, off of Booker, with 3 steals, another big assist game. And we have, I am ready to call it, not that it means anything and I can change my mind when the coaches do, but they're done with Jones. They don't need Tyus Jones. Devin Booker is back to being the point guard. 8 assists for Booker, 30 points. Tyus Jones, 18 minutes. Today was actually a good day for some of my evaluation predictions. I'm happy with that. Is I'm sure someone will point out the bad ones that I had today as well. That's cool. Do that. I'm living positive. I know there are bad ones. I know that. But yeah, they don't need Jones, and you don't either. So, as the great John Armstrong once said,
Get that garbage out of here.
Grayson Allen left with knee soreness. His 5-game week was interesting. His minutes are up, and we said we wanted to see what happens when Royce O'Neal came back. And of course, we don't get to know that, but what we do know is that Allen didn't finish out the game. He had 13 points in 13 minutes. I'm not holding a fringe player like Grayson Allen to find out if he's okay. I'm also not adding Royce O'Neal, who had 9 points with 2 threes, a steal, and a block. He was great in the fourth. But again, 3-game week, and Allen might not miss a single game. So I don't think there's going to be enough for O'Neal. And you're going to have O'Neal, you're going to have Dunn, you're going to have Jones, you're going to have Allen, all sort of fighting for minutes. We've got 27 Dunn minutes here. He had 11 and 6 with 3 threes. That's really good. But I also just don't care unless it's a schedule plus spot for the Suns or a deeper league situation. Beal had 15 off the bench with 6 assists. He had 2 blocks. He was inefficient. He was okay, but it's still not good. I am holding Beal, but yeah, they've still got a lot to figure out, and they're lucky that they're able to get the win in this one, the old Phoenix Suns. So, should we do some lines of the night? Let's do it. The monstrous line of the night. It was tight in the end. LaMelo Ball almost got there, but we're going to go with Jalen Brunson, 44, 5 and 6, and a locker room trip. The waiver wire line of the night is actually twins with the young gun of the night because it's the same person. It's game-winning legend Isaiah Collier, who Danny Ainge is probably going to murder right now. 23, 7 and 7. His assist numbers have been outstanding. He is a good passer. The rest, we'll find out. But could he be a starting point guard in the NBA? Maybe. The dud of the night? Well, who else is it? When you miss 10 shots and don't make any of them, it's got to be you. Noah Clowney, 0 points, 0 of 10 from the field. Absolute stinker. He'll have good ones. He'll have bad ones. This is one of the worst ones that you could get, and that's where we sit. All right, let's just have a quick recap of some of the injuries that did happen during the day. And this is a day where just a lot of stuff happened, and I don't know why I've got that little background thing happening there, and I apologize. I'm going to quickly just adjust that, get that out of here. Grayson Allen left with knee soreness. Royce O'Neal would be an ad, so we're done, but we just don't know, so I'm not rushing to do it. Tristan Da Silva left with an illness. John Isaac got more minutes, and Mr. Black played more as well. Goga Badadze left with a hip contusion, so that means more for Carter and more for Isaac. So you'll notice Isaac's name mentioned twice there. I think he's worth adding. And then Tyrese Halliburton left with a hamstring injury. Andrew Nembhard's a very obvious must-add. And then TJ McConnell's an add as well. But there's Isaac, there's Ball, there's Nembhard, there's McConnell, there's Iguodaro. There are so many weird and wonderful players today that sort of stepped up and become addable options. Cole Anthony's in that mix. The Dallas Najee Marshalls and Spencer Dinwiddie's, if they're still available, you're looking at them. Ben Simmons is worth streaming in. Zaire Williams has got some bump, but there's a bunch of guys who dropped off as well. Yeah, a stash of Kyle Filipowski. I felt like not necessarily that it's a changing of the guard, but a lot of things happened today. 3 of the most injury-prone players you will ever see all hit season-high minutes on the same day, and all had big games. Simmons, Isaac, Lonzo. Mark Williams toasted the Suns in the first half. Oscar Iguodaro took over at starting center. Is it a new thing? I don't know. Isaiah Collier looked good for the first time. So many things happened. I don't know if it's a changing point, a pivot point in the season, but it felt like a lot happened. And you've made it through to the end of the show, despite all of your St. Canute celebrations, and I thank you for taking time away from celebrating all the good Canutes in your life. And that's where we're at. So, if you want to celebrate St. Canute with me, you can do it by subscribing and throwing a like and dropping your comments. Just react. Tell me what the hell you took out of today, because it's a bloody weird day. I want to hear your thoughts about it, but I also want you, because you are also a Saint Canute, I want you to have a great day. I want you to have a good night, and I want you to reflect. I want you to reflect on something good. You know what's not a bad move? Streaming in Noah Clowney today. Not a bad move. Didn't work out. Whatever. You know what was a good move? Streaming in Isaiah Collier. That's good. That's a marginal thing. What else did you do? Did you have a shower? Did you get a good night's sleep? Did you go to bed early? Did you have a day and you didn't drink something? I don't know. Whatever it is for you, there's good in it. Guys, we are done here. I'm going to go and have a quick, and by that I mean nap. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.